Author's Press.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. And on the line with us today, we have Raya. We're going to be discussing her amazing children's book, I'm Not Afraid. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Audible, I'm telling you, pretty much wherever books are sold. So you need to head on over there and pick up your copies today, and you can thank me later. Now, before we go any further, I do want to quickly point out that Raya was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best publishing companies in the business, Author's Press. So if you are a writer out there, people, listen to me and listen to me good. I'm going to give you some fantastic advice here. If you have a narrative that you need help moving, contact Author's Press. They're one of the best in the business to do it, and they specialize in taking your literary creation to the next level. Head on over to authorspress.com today and see all the ways that they can help you. Now listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Raya here on the line. Now, the moment you head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or a whole list of other sources that you can find the book, you start to do research on it, you're going to understand what we're discussing today. Now, I know I mentioned before that it's a children's narrative, and yeah, it's categorized that way. I'm not going to lie, people, I know a lot of adults that can benefit from this narrative as well. Because when we're talking about her book, I'm Not Afraid, it discusses really that underlying notion of fear. And first and foremost, how fears are normal, okay? We all have them. I don't care if you're a child, if you're an adult, if you're an elderly person. You always have some fear or another. They're normal, and you got to know that you're not alone. There are always resources that are available. Now, when we're talking about her book and the main protagonist and the fears that she has, there's one particular fear of the basement. Now, I'm not going to go too far in depth with this. I'm not going to steal Raya's thunder here, okay? I'm going to let her talk to you about it. But I just want to quickly point out that, that is a fear that I had growing up. I think every child has a fear of the basement. There's something about it that's just so creepy. It's dark. It's, I'm from the East Coast, right? I live in Southern California now and have been for almost 2 decades. So here in Southern California, basements aren't too common here. But on the East Coast, where I was from, basements are all over. I mean, every place has it. And it seems like every basement that we ever had, even basements that were finished, still were just as creepy, right? You got the spider webs down there. It's always cold. And there's just something about it that from a child's imagination, you think that there are a whole host of monsters and just creepy things down there to get you. And, can I be the first to say that every time now when I go home, even in my advanced age, I'm like, I'd avoid it if I can, right? I mean, I can't still have the same fear because, I'm supposed to be an adult. But here's the thing. It's creepy, all right? So I understand where she's coming from, and I know a lot of you can as well, okay? And there's a lot more to it than that, but I wanted to touch up on it. And at the end of the day, Raya is the expert. She's written the book. She's done the research. She's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. But sit back, strap in. This is a wonderful journey for you to embark upon with your children. This is a wonderful journey for you to embark upon yourself because it's going to resonate with you no matter who you are, no matter what your background is. You're going to be able to take something from it and really connect it to your life. And without further ado, let's bring her here with us. Raya, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Hey, Benji. Thank you. I'm so honored. I'm good today. Thank you. What about yourself?
I am fantastic, Raya. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate it. And listen, it truly is a pleasure to have you here as a guest with us. We're looking forward to this. I think what you're doing here is needed, right? And it's so fun because it's nostalgic. I know it is for me, given some of the concepts that your character goes through and some of the things that she has to contend with. It instantly took me back, and I love it. And I know my listening audience is going to as well. So thank you again for being a guest. We're looking forward to this. Now, before we jump into the book and the narrative that you've comprised, I want to start off by learning a little bit more about your background, Raya. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm a pharmacy technician at North Shore LIJ Hospital. I work with a lot of kind, smart, funny pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, nurses, and we all get along. We're like a family. We call it actually Pharmally, which is kind of corny, but it goes, it fits. So that, and I like to say this loud and proud. This is my first book, and I am a writer and author. It feels good to say that.
Absolutely. Yeah, listen, as it should.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's like you said, it's nostalgic. I'm so excited. Like, I feel like I'm on cloud 9 right now. I don't know what that feels like, but I guess this would be it.
There you have it. Raya, listen, as you should, as I was mentioning before, writing a book is no easy feat, okay? Because it's not as simple as just putting words to the page. I mean, sure, that's the foundation, but there's a lot more that goes into it. And then taking it a step further and getting it published, my goodness, okay, this is absolutely a huge accomplishment, something you should be very, very proud of. And, something that we're very happy to help you celebrate with, okay? And I wasn't planning on initially going here next, but after that introduction, how could I go anywhere else? Raya, your background is in the pharmaceutical industry. You got to connect the dots for me. Where does writing fit into all of this?
Well, writing has always been, I would say, my dream, even as a young girl in elementary school, because we would have journals that, we would write in daily. And then I would think to myself, like, I don't know what to write. But once I put that pencil to the paper, I just start flowing. It just starts flowing. I start just thinking about all the things I want to do, think about stories, like to tell, like, especially with, like my father would take us on fishing trips. I would mention that. During the weekday after the weekend, my sister and I, my father took my sister and I fishing, and, I would put that on paper and it just would flow.
Yeah.
And that's where it started.
I love it. I oftentimes have artists on the network, and I love asking that question of inspiration because it's wonderful to see how different people are influenced differently, right? And it starts off with that initial snowflake, and then you just see it start to roll down that hill and compile, and now it's a big snowball, and it just develops. I love that. Thank you very much for articulating it. We truly appreciate it. And without further ado, because of course the anchor is all about your narrative, I'm not afraid. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Thank you. Well, for starters, my book, I wrote it in memory of my father, who passed away in 2004.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Now, no, it's okay. He was a really good dad. In 2015, that's when it started coming all together, because one day I was sad. I prayed about it, and for some reason I wind up going to his gravesite because when my father was alive, if I asked a question, he would know how to put it in words where you understand and you feel better. And he just know how to console my sister and I. And it was always helpful. So when I was at his gravesite and I'm just talking out loud and, talking to him, and I would think about all the good memories. And I had to laugh about it because just like my character Shelly, I was that girl with the kickball that went down the basement. And I tell you, we didn't have no nice furnished basement that we have today. We had one of those, basements which was more like a storage with boxes. You have tools, you have cobwebs, and it had a dim light. So
Oh, yeah.
that was like, oh man, I didn't want to go down there. So when I told my father, he laughed about it. He took my hand. He was like, let's go downstairs. We'll go grab the ball together. Yeah, because it went behind one of those big boxes. And, as a kid, I would think of all the things that would be behind those boxes. Not just bugs, but, just like monsters. Because I had this big imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the story came about. And I'm like, I can incorporate that in a book, in a children's book. And when I started writing and it started flowing and I came up with my character's name, Shelly, it actually all came together.
Raya, like I said, the nostalgic appeal is something that's the reason why I'm like, listen, if you're an adult out there, this is something you can relate to as well. Clearly, a wonderful adventure for children to embark upon, because I think, again, as I mentioned, I think all of us have it. Maybe it's not the basement, and it is for me, because I'm right there with you, and I have a lot of older brothers. And here's the next thing, because older brothers, the siblings in general, but especially older brothers, can tend to be downright mean in certain instances. So I had my fair share of, whether it was a ball or a toy or just my older brothers intentionally throwing one of my toys down into the basement. I had those moments where it's like, you got to go down there and you got to search. And it always seemed to be that the toy would end in the furthest part of the basement. Like, I don't understand. The stairs are here, and then the toy managed to get like 100 feet away, as if the basement was that big. But, you get what I'm saying here. And it always played out that way, and your imagination would run wild, right? So I love the nostalgic appeal, and people, this is why I'm telling you, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, amongst a plethora of other places, you have to head on over there, pick up your copy of I'm Not Afraid today by Raya. And this is something you're gonna love embarking upon with your children, because I promise you, whether they've expressed it to you or not, they have those fears. They have those common things that their imagination is running wild with. And you have no idea the amount of support you can offer them just by embarking upon this journey and showing them that they're not alone. They're not the only ones that are feeling this way. And the amount of confidence and comfort that you can bring them is something very special. Yeah, I love it. Raya, next question here. And we're going to start to close out of this one, because I know we have another one on the horizon that I want to get to and give you an opportunity to plug. But curiosity for myself here, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you embarked upon this journey and wrote this book, I'm Not Afraid?
Well, I would say, there's a lot of highlights in the book that I enjoy, but I would say the part where the ball goes into the basement, that is like the scariest part, because if you look at the pictures, you see her like gasping, like, oh, this is like it's in the basement. Oh no. And when I think about it, in the basement, and like you said, when your toy goes in the basement, it goes to the farthest corner. Mm-hmm. It's like 1, 2, 3, go, run and get it and run out quickly. So that would be one of the highlights. And I don't want to give the whole story away, so I try to keep it as vague until everybody reads my book.
Absolutely. Smart. That's the way to do it. People, head on over there, pick up your copies today so you can truly embark upon that journey and figure it all out. Now, as I mentioned, this is not the only book that Raya is completing and putting out. Now, the other book is still in creation, okay? So it's not available for purchase just yet. But you're going to want to get involved, right? Because I'm Not Afraid is actually going to be developed into a series. So there's another book on the horizon called Helpful Shelly. As I mentioned, still in creation. You can't pick it up just yet. But since we have some extra time here, Raya, talk to our listening audience about that next book, Helpful Shelly, and tell us a little bit more about it.
So Shelly, in this new book, it talks about how she wants to help her mother because her mother is not feeling well. So Shelly tried to help out by going in the kitchen and trying to make soup and toast. And it's when she's making this soup and toast, everything that you can imagine just went wrong in that kitchen. So it's like, how does she get help, or how does she deal with this situation of the mess that she made? And how can she clean it up before her father or anybody else sees it as to what happened in the kitchen? So helpful Shelly. She tried to be helpful.
Raya, I'm loving this, man. I'm loving this. And again, another book that instantly takes me back. And some of the messes that I've made in the kitchen. And, quick side note, my wife and I, we recently had our daughter not too long ago, actually just a few weeks ago. Very recent. Thank you very much. We're sleep deprived beyond any sort of imagination, and it's like, woo, girl, it is a journey, but we're loving it. And we could not be happier with our little princess. She's amazing. But that is one of those things where I'm like, wow, when she gets to that point where she wants to help out in the kitchen and she wants to make her own food, that's gonna be a fun time. That's gonna be a fun time. People, I'm telling you, could we have selected a more perfect embodiment of a person of distinction to be on our network? I mean, everything that is coming out of her mouth is something that is so relatable. And this is why you need to head on over and pick up your copies, because that selfishly you're going to be able to read these books on your own and be like, yeah, I can relate to this. I like this. But also, that you're going to be able to do this with your children, and your children are going to love it. Because these are things that your children are going to experience if they haven't already. And this is going to help them get over some of those fears. And hopefully keep them out of the kitchen as well. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's wishful thinking. Fingers crossed. Here we go. But I'm going to say it for you again. I know I don't have to, but I'm going to re-impress it here. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Audible, Google Play. I'm telling you. Go online and search for Raya, I'm Not Afraid, and you're going to be greeted with a whole host of places where you can purchase your copies. And you're going to want to do so, because if this interview hasn't moved you, I don't know, you're asleep, you need to wake up, or you're going to get passed by. This is something you want to embark upon. This is a fantastic resource to add to your shelf. It's an even better gift to add to someone else's. So you know where to go. Pick up your copies today and just get lost in it. Raya, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. I really do mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.